Knucklehead, I knew him before he was, a president. He was just a guy who was chasing girls. Every time you went out, he'd come over and be like, "What's the name of that? Have you thought about if Donald Trump wins? Have you thought about the possibility he might use the power of the federal government against you personally? You don't have to be faster than the bear. You just have to be faster than the one kid. You're that one kid. I'm the kid, yeah, I have. But I'm comforted in the fact that he's coming after you first." Applause. That makes you feel better. When George Clooney revealed the truth about Trump, it made the orange man's toupee spin. Our favorite silver fox was laid into the Trumpster speech, criticizing him for his antics and general foolishness. There's more though. Being the sensitive snowflake that he is, Trump was unable to withstand the heat. He had a tantrum on Twitter that would have made a toddler blush. Stay tuned to watch the outcome of this Hollywood hottie versus White House chump matchup. Remember George Clooney as that romantic ER doctor who made people's hearts skip a beat with his endearing smile and flawless hair. Our favorite TV star has traded in his stethoscope for a megaphone, and he isn't scared to use it. People, if Clooney had a killer sense of humor and a grudge against orange presidents, his transformation from movie star to political powerhouse would be like watching a caterpillar turn into a butterfly, but somewhere between stat and cut. Clooney was busy saving lives on ER back in the day and making us all wish we had a medical emergency. Who you were supposed to know? What am I supposed to do? Storm the Capitol. It's like, I didn't think people would vote for someone who was so deeply flawed. Donald Trump. That's the thing is people. I have his phone number in my phone book. He was the guy that came to the bars and asked me about which cocktail waitress was single. That's who he was. There's this part of you that just goes, well, that guy shouldn't be president. But I was wrong, and he was. And our democracy, I believe, paid the price. Certainly around the world. George, our boy, made the logical decision that he wanted to save more than just imaginary patients. He began taking tentative steps into the hazy world of politics. And believe me when I say that things weren't always easy. People initially said, just keep acting like a pretty boy. It's like that speaking out about politics gets Hollywood types a lot of flack. People seem to believe that having opinions and memorizing lines are incompatible. Clooney, however, had no intention of letting the critics deter him. He dove right in, our man, and said, "Hold my perfectly aged whiskey." George began small projects to support causes that were important to him. He rose to prominence as a human rights and refugee advocate. It's as though he thought, you know what, after checking his bank account, I have enough time and money to help a few people. And he did, using his notoriety to draw attention to problems that needed it. Clooney, however, wasn't satisfied with merely writing checks and giving speeches. Oh no, he was aiming for larger fish, or perhaps more accurately, larger orange whales. Clooney made the decision to remove his gloves when Trump stormed onto the political scene, like Godzilla and a bad toupee. Although Clooney has always been renowned for his witty remarks, he becomes a one-man show when it comes to Trump. I don't know if you've seen this, but he posted in July. So now, fake movie actor George Clooney. Yeah, he doesn't know that movies are fake, does he? I don't think so. Clooney should get out of politics and go back to television. Movies never really worked for him. I will if he does. Who never came to making a great movie is getting into the act. He's turned on Crooked Joe, like the rats they both are. What does Clooney know about anything? He feels better because of that. Indeed, he has made some statements that would cause even the most seasoned comedians to applaud, such as when he claimed that Trump is a fascist who is xenophobic. That must be more painful than one of Trump's botched spray tans. It's not all jest and teasing, though. Clooney has criticized Trump's policies, his behavior, and pretty much everything in between. His criticism has been as scathing as Donald Trump's hair on a windy day. It would be similar to seeing David defeat Goliath if David were extremely attractive and Goliath had small hands. What was unique about Clooney's most recent criticism, you inquire? Let's just say that he didn't mince words. He pursued Trump with more vigor than Trump pursues a bucket of KFC. Clooney criticized Trump for his divisive rhetoric and accused him of being a xenophobic fascist. He seemed to say, "I've seen scarier things in a haunted house." One person who may be just as confident as Donald Trump is George Clooney when he's talking about Donald Trump. There's not going to be a President Donald Trump. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen because we're not going to be used. Fear is not going to be something that we're. That's going to be the worst part, is that people are now paying attention to Clooney instead of him. No more that guy from ER. He has developed into a well-respected political figure with the ability to sway public opinion. It's similar to seeing your class clown become the principal of the school, only much cooler and more attractive. It appears that our favorite orange-tinted Twitter addict is back at it, people. The man who made the presidency into a reality show is Donald Trump, who couldn't help but lash out when George Clooney tried to be critical of him. It's similar to using a smartphone to watch a toddler. You can't take your eyes off it, even though you know it will end badly. As everyone is aware, Trump has a history of retaliating against celebrities who criticize him. It's his favorite pastime, right? Up there with golf and Big Macs. But this time, he really went above and beyond. When Clooney called him out, Trump lost it. It seemed as though his favorite toy, the nuclear football, had been stolen. What specifically did the Trumpster mention in his tweet regarding our silver fox? Well, Buttercup, buckle up. This is going to be an exciting ride. Clooney's biggest acting role was failing to fire people on The Apprentice. So it's no surprise that he first called him a washed-up actor. Then he said, Clooney was just talking and not doing anything. So now, fake movie actor George Clooney. Yeah, he doesn't know that movies are fake, does he? I don't think so. Clooney should get out of politics and go back to television. Movies never really worked for him. Oh, I will if he does. Who never came close to making a great movie, is getting into the act. He's turned on Crooked Joe, like the rats they both are. What does Clooney know about anything? It seems that Trump was unaware of Clooney's humanitarian endeavors. But really, with 280 characters and a brittle ego, Broadway doesn't need facts. Get behind things that I think I could have. At least I can help bring attention to it. I can't change things. We're not a government. My wife and I, we try to get involved in things that we think we can, and we fail. I fail most often. You failed a lot in Darfur. Failed a lot, quite honestly. But it's worth the journey. And I'm worried about, the coarsening of America. I'm worried about how, we celebrate unkindness. Kind of crazy that you never. It's pretty stupid. You've never been on Broadway? No, I've never been. I did one play. I've done a lot of plays in LA, but I did one play in Steppenwolf about 30 years ago. It's been a long time. Have you thought about writing an op-ed in the Times, asking him to step down because it worked a wreck? I'm a nervous wreck. Sure. I mean, it's a very intimidating world. Did you feel like this is something you need to check off? Did you say check off? As time went on, it felt like maybe I should do it. And I have to say, I'm terrified. And it's exciting. We're going to live in New York for a while and try to not destroy Broadway. along with Clooney, my personal favorite, and the overrated Hollywood elite, were among Trump's most memorable insults. Did he really hire a kindergartner to write his speech? He's determined to fill the entire card as if he were playing insult bingo. And Trump's supporters were thrilled. They retweeted more quickly than you could say, "Co." It was noisy, messy, and somewhat embarrassing for all parties involved, akin to witnessing a group of seagulls quarrel over a French fry. The shocking thing is that Clooney, who is a sophisticated individual, refused to be like Trump. Did he not start a Twitter war or retort with insults? Not at all. He simply persisted. His efforts to improve the world and promote human rights. You may be wondering how this Twitter war will intensify, but it seems like he has better things to do than argue with a grown man who tweets at 3 in the morning from the bathroom. Well, I would wager on Trump doubling down if I were a gambler. The next thing he might say is that Clooney was born in Kenya, or that he was the true star of Ocean's 11, and Clooney was only an extra. For Trump, apart from, real presidential behavior, anything is possible. The problem is that old Donnie might have suffered as a result of this Twitter outburst. You see, the rest of America is rolling their eyes so hard they can see their own brains. While his base may be applauding, it turns out that you don't exactly look like the good guy when you attack a well-liked actor who volunteers to help refugees in his spare time. Now, everyone grab some popcorn, because this Hollywood confrontation is going to get real. Do you recall George Clooney as that idealized doctor on television? He now has a political megaphone in place of his stethoscope, and he isn't scared to use it. However, how precisely is our silver-haired beauty battling the orange threat now? Let's examine Clooney's political toolkit. Let's start with Clooney's film magic. However, let's face it, this guy does more than just make movies look good. Not at all. He has been producing politically charged films more quickly than Trump can. Post false information on Twitter. Consider Good Luck and Good Night. This black and white beauty, for instance, made fun of McCarthyism. But let's face it, it was also a direct jab at the current wave of witch hunts. And let's not even discuss the Ides of March. Clooney seemed to say, "Hold my beer," after gazing into a crystal ball and seeing the chaos of the 2016 election. I'm turning this into a movie. However, Gorgeous George is not merely criticizing the big screen. Additionally, he's been showing off his financial prowess in ways that would make Trump's pay turn. This guy has been throwing fundraisers that are more impressive than your typical bake sale. He gave a cool $500,000 to the March for Our Lives movement, and we're talking about million-dollar dinners for Hillary Clinton supporters. In contrast to a certain individual who pledged to self-fund his campaign but later failed to do so. It appears that someone is acting on their words. You may be wondering now, Clooney may have the money, but does he have the contacts? Our boy, George has more high-ranking friends than Trump has had business failures. He has been hanging out with the Bidens, the Obamas, and pretty much every other prominent Democrat you can imagine. He's not merely gathering selfies either. He's using these connections to push for real change. From lobbying for action in Darfur to advocating for Syrian refugees, Clooney's been a one-man political wrecking ball. There's more though, because apparently being a movie star, political donor, and professional schmoozer wasn't enough. Clooney made the decision to launch his own charity. The Clooney Foundation for Justice has been actively supporting refugee resettlement initiatives, while Donnie has been attempting to erect barriers, which is akin to a big middle finger to everything Trump stands for, to help Syrian refugee children receive an education. They have even teamed up with UNICEF. Clooney seemed to say, "I accept the challenge," after glancing at Trump's agenda. What is on Clooney's hit list next? According to rumors, he is working on a new project that will cause Trump's Twitter account to go viral. Some describe it as a scathing documentary about the shortcomings of the Trump administration. Some believe it could be a satirical comedy that will make Saturday Night Live appear mild. Whatever it is, you can bet that at 3,000 in the morning, Trump will be reaching for his phone, ready to send out an epic tweet storm. The crucial question is whether any of this is genuinely having an impact, or if it's all Hollywood jargon. It appears that our boy George may have a clue. Millions of dollars have been contributed to Democratic campaigns by his fundraising efforts, not to mention the influence of pop culture. When Clooney speaks, people pay attention, not just because of his gorgeous eyes. His advocacy work has drawn attention to issues that Trump would prefer to overlook on a global scale. Now, people, fasten your seatbelts because our silver fox is going to get hot. It turns out that there are some very unpleasant repercussions when you poke the orange bear. Who knew? On Trump's naughty list, our boy George has been having a great time. It's not all mistletoe and candy canes, though. The right-wing media, always willing to play fetch for their Trumpy master, has labeled Clooney a traitor. But in reality, it's more like rotten eggs, is it not? Unbelievable is our idealistic humanitarian betraying us. Calling a puppy evil for urinating on Trump's golden toilet is equivalent to that. The worst part is that Clooney isn't going to back down. Not at all. He was furious to learn that during Trump's presidency, he was listed on a deck of cards that identified traitors. Was he crying? Was he hiding? No. I am very proud of that, he said, puffing out his chest. Talk about making a martini out of lemons. Am I correct? You may be asking yourself, but what about his family? They must not be very happy about this. You'd be correct. Though Clooney acknowledged that his loved ones are also subjected to personal attacks and threats, which makes for a difficult situation when a group of seagulls wearing MAGA hats keep swooping in to steal your sandwiches and poop on your blanket. It's like trying to have a nice family picnic. This is where things become interesting, though. Clooney is embracing his inner Papa Bear. Rather than trembling in terror or assembling a horde of bodyguards,